And I think it's bad well, for our country. And I am sad to see minorities make so much of themselves as a hyphenated American. Hollywood's golden age from the 1930s to the 1970s was not merely a film production machine, but a global cultural empire, where stars were not only performers on screen, but also ideological symbols, shaping how millions of people understood power, morality, and social order. Yet behind the bright stage lights, racial discrimination was gradually normalized, deeply embedded in films, backstage culture, and even the private lives of many stars. Some used their power to pressure actors of color, forcing them to remain silent and comply. Others removed them from projects simply for not being the right image. And some went even further, openly supporting the creation of exclusionary rules that turned inequality into protected systems. In today's video, we will break down 10 of the most racially discriminatory stars of classic Hollywood and confront the final question: did any of them truly pay a price for what they did? 1. Jack Elam, demeaning language and backstage power directed at actors of color. No, I was an auditor in the picture business, and because of an eye problem, I had to get another job. From the late 1950s through the 1960s, when Western films dominated Hollywood, Jack Elam appeared on film sets across California, Arizona, and New Mexico. He was not an A-list star, but he was familiar enough to carry a level of informal authority that made people around him cautious. It was precisely within this backstage environment that, according to later published accounts and memoirs by crew members, Elam's racially biased attitudes became visible and recurring. According to the memoir of an assistant director who worked with Elam on a Western filmed in Arizona in 1961, Elam frequently used derogatory nicknames when referring to Mexican-American actors and Native American performers in the cast. These remarks were never made on camera, but openly voiced in rest areas between takes, where there was no press and no studio leadership present. Elam treated this manner of speaking as casual, locker room-style conversation, while those targeted rarely responded, knowing their careers depended entirely on a handful of minor supporting roles. By 1964, during the filming of another Western in New Mexico, a wardrobe department member recorded in a personal journal that Elam openly complained about a Native American actor being given additional dialogue. He argued that it diluted the focus of the story and made the film feel less authentic. Although framed in professional language, the target of the complaint and the context made clear Elam's discomfort with non-white performers receiving greater on-screen presence. By the late 1960s, as civil rights movements began influencing Hollywood, Elam's attitude showed no meaningful shift. During a lunch break on a film set near Monument Valley in 1968, a Mexican-American background actor later recalled Elam remarking that, "You have to watch everything you say now," implying that he could no longer speak as freely as before about ethnic groups. This comment, shared years later on a local television interview, revealed that Elam viewed social change as an inconvenience rather than something deserving respect. More importantly, Jack Elam's behavior extended beyond language. As a reliable character actor trusted by producers, he held informal influence in evaluating supporting cast members. Internal production notes indicate that Elam sometimes suggested removing or reducing the roles of actors of color whom he felt did not fit the tone of the film, despite no evidence of poor performance. Even when small in scale, such decisions directly affected the career opportunities of minority performers in an already exclusionary industry. What makes Elam's case particularly notable is that he never faced public backlash during the height of his career. There were no explosive interviews, no political declarations, only a pattern of repeated conduct sustained by collective silence. This subtle form of discrimination allowed Elam to blend seamlessly into Hollywood's golden era without leaving an obvious public record, even though the impact on those in weaker positions was real. Jack Elam's story demonstrates that discrimination in Hollywood did not arise solely from overt statements, but was also sustained through everyday actions that were quiet, normalized, and difficult to challenge. From these seemingly minor behaviors, the narrative moves to a very different case, one in which discriminatory beliefs were no longer confined to the backstage but openly expressed before a global audience. 2. John Wayne public statements supporting white leadership. More writes, but it isn't a thing where the rest of the country should feel terribly guilty about anything because they have. In the winter of 1971, inside a Los Angeles interview room, John Wayne sat down with Playboy magazine not as an actor nearing the end of his career, but with the confidence of a national icon. When journalist David Sheff asked about the growing equality movement in the United States, Wayne did not evade the question. He stated directly that he believed white people should retain leadership roles in society and that other communities needed to be properly educated before assuming power. The published response stunned readers because it was not spoken impulsively, but articulated as a long-held personal belief. In the same interview, when asked about Native Americans, Wayne went further, asserting that land taken by white settlers was not the result of wrongdoing, but a natural outcome of a stronger people moving forward. I'm sad to see minorities make so much of themselves as a hyphenated American. I wish they'd all get to thinking that they're Americans as they should. He suggested that control belongs to those capable of holding it. Once printed nationwide, these statements sparked strong backlash while simultaneously reinforcing Wayne's image as a representative voice of deeply conservative American thought at the time. These 1971 remarks were consistent with how John Wayne had built his career over previous decades. From the late 1940s onward, he repeatedly selected and defended scripts that placed white characters at the moral center of the narrative. In The Searchers, filmed in 1956 at Monument Valley, Wayne's character spends much of the film pursuing Native Americans with undisguised hostility. While later critics would analyze the film as complex, at the time of its release, the portrayal strongly reinforced the idea that indigenous people were threats to be eliminated. Beyond the screen, Wayne expressed racially exclusionary views through political and professional involvement. During the 1950s, he was a prominent member of the Motion Picture Alliance, a conservative Hollywood organization that opposed progressive movements, and resisted changes to the existing social order. According to meeting records released years later, Wayne complained that Hollywood was giving in too much to pressure from minority groups and warned that such changes would erode what he believed to be a white-centered concept of American identity. John Wayne's influence meant these views extended beyond personal opinion. As a top star, his stance could determine whether projects gained support or faced resistance within conservative filmmaking circles. Some producers later acknowledged that aligning with Wayne helped secure loyal audiences, while opposing him risked financial and distribution difficulties. After the Playboy interview was published, consequences emerged gradually rather than immediately. Several universities canceled film screenings or honorary recognitions, and civic organizations repeatedly cited Wayne's remarks whenever proposals arose to memorialize him. Despite this, Wayne never publicly apologized or retracted his statements. In a later interview with local media, he said he saw no reason to change his views simply because others disliked them. John Wayne's case represents an unapologetically public form of racial discrimination, articulated clearly from a position of maximum star power. This bluntness has